A history of France. We go back to the ancient world when that area was called Gaul, an area of various tribes, primitive or advanced as we go through the Old Stone Age, New Stone Age, Bronze Age, those kinds of developments. Let us pick up the story in the ancient world with the Roman Republic and its expansion and its eventual conquest of ancient Gaul, Julius Caesar, various campaigns, and bringing it into the larger Roman control. Eventually Rome becomes an empire, and Gaul will be one of the provinces of that empire. Set in motion by the Emperor Augustus, excellent administrator, various generals trusted, usually in charge of these various provinces, including Gaul. The point is to bring wealth to the centers of the Roman Empire in terms of slave labor, in terms of agricultural goods, mining. All of that will take place in Gaul as it will in much of the rest of the Roman Empire. Eventually the Roman Empire, in its famous decline and fall, eventually will collapse in the West in the traditional year 476 AD, where you have various tribes from Northern Europe, which we've learned about, for example, from Caesar's commentaries of those years, will overrun that Western empire. These have been mostly marauding tribes. It's a violent time in terms of constant wars and rampages. But eventually, after the collapse of the Roman Empire in the West, things begin to settle in a more stationary kind of way. The other notable thing that Louis XIV did, which also will bring us back to the issue of taxation, was the building of Versailles. Outside of the capital, outside of Paris, Louis XIV had this enormous project which he undertook. Versailles was like a small royal city outside of Paris. And no expense would be spared in the building of this court city, which took many years to build. The palaces, enormous in size, no expense spared in terms of everything inside of them, gilt-edged, the famous Hall of Mirrors, this long hall of enormous mirrors, the landscaping done in a formal way of symmetry on either side of a lake, for example, that the shrubbery would all be identical one side or the other. No expense spared for any of this in the building of Versailles. And what you have with the collapse of that Western Roman Empire in the 5th century AD, you have eventually a system, both economic and political, as part of what are called the Middle Ages. The political system is called feudalism. Those chieftains, those rulers of these various tribes, in the settling that took place, eventually what evolves are terms like kings over larger areas, and these former chiefs in their settling down will give grants of land called fiefs or fiefdoms to their various lieutenants who aided them and supported them in their various wars of conquest. And what you have eventually in this political system called feudalism, a kind of pyramidal structure, where you have the chief lord at the top, the king, who takes the lion's share of the lands, and the land would be the measure of wealth in these times, subdividing other sections to what were called vassals, subordinates to the king, also of that noble class, who had various obligations to their superior lord, in this case the king. Military obligations,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?